the regulations are going to bring forth. So that's what I've been.
Oh man, I'm so glad you shared that. And again, as you're going through and outlining what it is that you're here to do, and you again, that's one of those examples where you can connect with folks. And a lot of times, there's somebody who's specializing in what it is that you're hoping to do, or has some type of experience, and have a conversation. Have that conversation concerning steps and ways to kind of strategize and go through it. So I'm glad you shared that, Brother Besh. And you always get us started. And many times when folks are still rolling, getting themselves together. So we appreciate that. And we'll open up the call. Anybody else would like to take a second, open up the call, talk a little bit about your 2020 goals for this year? We'll take a second and open up the call now. 2022.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Najee Truesdale.
My brother Truesdale.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm glad that. Yes, sir. Just wanted to give thanks once again, as you always say, Byron. We have to give thanks to that man upstairs. But for myself, it's about that discipline. I have discipline in, areas, whether by like working out, but definitely more discipline in entrepreneurship. So my history as far as I've been in the insurance industry for now, it's going on 3 years. So I see the importance of it. But now it's just a matter of, okay, 1 week may be like, I have other things going on because I do have a full-time job. But just now really just tackling, okay, look, you know what? I can't have any distractions. If this is something that you truly want to do, because I love to help people and educate them. So now it's just a matter of I can't have any other distractions coming in. And that's in the area where I said this year that I'm not going to let happen. Like, actually, I'm on my way to an appointment right now, 8 o'clock in the morning. Before, I'd be like, I'll put it off, or we had to do it later on. But now it's to the point where there's no more playing around. So that's one area I know for a fact that if I can be disciplined in the other areas, I definitely can, just buckle down and be disciplined in this area.
I love it. Love it. Now let me ask you this. And so, what would you say in the past would be the difference? Like if somebody says they want to reach out to, hey, can you help me with, getting some insurance set up, help me with my estate planning, anything like that? You would put other things, like what brought you to this kind of realization? You know what? How am I going to reprioritize your time to be able to fit this in? What's changed?
Confidence. Sometimes when you don't have knowledge in a particular area, you may run away from it, and then also too, you may be afraid of asking for help because you don't want to look a certain way. But it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that because. So, prime example, how I was refereeing, and I made it to the collegiate level because I wanted it, and I could see myself like up there in the collegiate, also like NFL. I would talk to my mentors like daily. Like it wasn't to the point where they would call me; I would call them because I wanted it so bad. So now I see where I have to take that form of discipline and shift it over into this area, and that's where I'm at now.
I'm glad you took it that way. And so let me ask you one more question. And so you think about, you're doing your time as an official and refereeing, what's the difference between having the confidence to reach out to mentors in the refereeing space and to learn more and to gather that information? What's the difference in that space versus where you are now and not feeling confident or comfortable reaching out to folks in on the financial side and the insurance and estate planning side?
Good question. It was just being afraid, to reach out, because it's like if you're on the field, you're not. I mean, you're dealing with somebody's life, but you're talking about financial planning. Like, I don't want to mess with anybody's money.
Yeah.
Like, at all. And, talking to people, they know when you truly know something, when you don't know something. And that's the last thing that I want to do, is go into a house and act like I know, but really I don't, and can be confused on some things.
Yeah.
And now, they have invested their hard-earned money into something, and I'm just like playing around with it. Nah, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
You know me.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
I don't. My heart, is to help you any way, shape, or form. But now I have, things in place. I have reconnected with my mentors, and we have really sat down and talked. Vision board is up, and they are truly my accountability partners. Where like throughout the week, I have to make sure that I get my reading time in, that I set a time aside for that, and then to just making sure that I'm making my phone calls and also talking to clients. And then if there is something that I am unsure of, hey, it's just a simple phone call away.
Yeah.
And also just letting the clients know, hey, look, I'm not familiar with this. Let me get, such and such on the phone so we can, so they can break it down.
Yeah.
And further explain to you.
Yeah. Man, I can't even begin to tell you how exciting it is to hear you kind of outline that and use that example, because for those of folks who know you and know your kind of your history, and in athletics, so when you think about your time as a referee, well, you definitely understood the sport, and so it was a situation of being in a position to talk about something that about, you've had experience in it, and you have almost even a reference point if where something is. And then if you needed to reach out to a mentor just for some of the technical aspects, maybe a new rule, things like that's different from when you were playing the game, and from your kind of baseline understanding, that it still is in line with what you already know. But when you go back to your purpose and passion around helping people, and now you're in the space of finance and financial services, financial services is a wide space. There's so many aspects and things that, from, investments to insurance to banking to taxes to accounting to, estates, to mortgage. I mean, there's just a whole wide world. And when you sit down, especially when you talk about personal finance, and everyone is actually, involved in some way, form, or fashion, so I can definitely get that. I actually, when I, it's when I look back over my career in this industry, it has kind of started in one place, and then my interest led me to another place. And the one thing about, and this is a great time, I was talking to Brother Morris yesterday, and we were talking about, for those of you who've been on the call for a long time and part of this network, when talking about the basics, and the basics of personal development. And that first piece of the basics, is who do you listen to? Listen to the people who have what you want, and always letting that serve as kind of like your protector when you're starting something new, because when you start something new, you're going into the unknown, you're going into a space of, I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what to expect. I may not have the quick answer. for a question. But how do you prepare yourself when someone asks you something and you don't know the answer? But if you, as you already kind of outlined, is having those mentors of people who have what you want, who have been down that road. And it's important for us to also recognize that every time we pivot and go into a new lane that has of where we've never been, but we have a passion around going there. There's a reason why we've gone into this new, to approach a new thing, that we identify new mentors, new people who can give us guidance on the direction. And sometimes, and you have to be kind of broad, sometimes the people who are your mentors and who are guiding you are people who may not be alive anymore, but they have documented their experiences through books, through videos, through, secondhand, somebody else who wrote about them and documented their stories. And that will send you into, just immerse you into this new thirst for learning, thirst for information, thirst for reading, and your passion takes you down that road. And for instance, when I left my old firm, and I kind of gotten to a point where I'd gotten into kind of the mastery of retirement plans and retirement planning, but I knew it was time to go to delve into another lane within the industry. And so when I left and went to work for a tax advisory firm, and I'm not a CPA, and I knew that the clients were going to, hey, you work for that company, tell me about the new tax law. And, and so, and then all covered with all the compliance associated with it. And so, my normal mind would have said, man, I can't do this. Not only can I not do it, I shouldn't do it, because it's going to put me in a position where I could be out of compliance. I could get in trouble, all of that. And as soon as that devil of my normal mind jumped in, that positive aspect said, well, who are the best tax advisors in the firm? Show them that you can help build their book of business by partnering on opportunities. So as soon as somebody says something about tax, said, get them excited about this new person you're going to introduce them to, and sit in that meeting and learn, instead of just saying, hey, he's going to call you. You organize the meeting, you sit in that meeting and take notes of all the good stuff that person's getting ready to share about this area that could be very beneficial to your bottom line. And in the next meeting, you'll be in a position to provide quote unquote guidance to say, hey, have you heard about the new tax law? Give some surface level information and then bring in the expert, right? So these are things that, as you're going into, these new spaces, these areas that are, there's so much unknown, get your tools ready, make sure you have the folks ready to go who are quote unquote your mentors in these new areas, and reach out to the network. Say, hey, question, have you heard about this? Do you know anybody who has that? If I showed you my text messages and that I've received, or emails from folks say, hey, do you know this? Do you know that? And just being a great resource to people. I mean, you'd like, wow. And again, it just comes down to making yourself available, especially as you're doing this business development, trying to reach as many people as possible. So, but it's a great, man, going into this new year with a new goal, and embrace kind of the unknown. And that's something that we don't do, especially if you have some passion around it. Embrace the unknown, because it's only unknown for a season. It's only unknown for, for a quick minute, until you experience enough of it. And then now it's something that you understand and are able to add some value in. So good luck to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you.
Now, hey, appreciate you, man, for jumping in and sharing that. Also, anybody else? Let's jump in. Anybody else want to kind of outline what you're working on this year and your goals for this year and challenges maybe? Let's take a second and open up the call now.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I think I may have heard two people. Go for it.
Who goes first?
I don't know. I don't even know who. And unfortunately,
okay,
yeah. Whoever's talking, go ahead and keep going. Go for it.
Here we go.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jada.
Jada. Okay.
My goals were, I got into truck driving. I got my CDL, got into trucking. One of my first goals was to move from Baltimore, Maryland to where I've always wanted to live, just because. Not because of any reason. I have no family here, but just because.
Yeah.
So I moved to Savannah, Georgia. Now my second goal is to establish myself as a truck driver, get my business card, start actually networking, which has always been difficult for me because, like the gentleman said earlier, I'm a loner. I'm a true Capricorn. So that is my goal, to actually start beating my feet to the street, get my business cards out there and say, hey, I'm a truck driver. I can pick up this load for you, do this for you, and try to grow my business that way instead of depending on dispatchers, this and that. But the other thing is, my heart really wants to go back to school and finish my auto mechanics degree that I didn't finish 10 years ago. I dropped out 10 years ago and got back into the whole professional business of doing mortgages, which is what I was doing. But my heart has always been auto mechanics. So my goal is thinking, okay, where do I want to really be? What is it now for me? Because right now it's not about the money. It's about where my heart lies. Because I know the money will come.
Yep.
And I'm okay financially. I want to be good, but I'm okay financially. So my heart is like, okay, the truck driving thing is good, but it's a new business. But I really want to go back to auto mechanics. So my goal is to figure out exactly what do I really want to do, and then take that from there and try to make sure I succeed at my third goal, which honestly is to get to the point where I don't have to work. I just want to work.
There we go. Now, I love that. You know, and I love the fact that you, first of all, there is, you know, and I'm going to use a word that some people cringe when I use this word, but I love it. You know, I can hear the ambition, you know, concerning your objectives. And some people, when you hear the word, some people shy away from that word because I think we were trained as kids to say, oh, so that person's ambitious, which is a bad thing. So just come down and not be ambitious, you know. And when you unpack what the word ambition means, you know, you're talking about a word that says somebody who wants to accomplish more, you know, somebody who wants to accomplish more in life, who wants to be, you know, to increase. And, you know, you have that. I can hear it just in how, in the things that you were willing to do and make a move and go into the unknown. And so, you know, hats off, kudos to you for staying true to yourself. And within all of everything that you said, this is a classic example of the need for strategic planning. You know, the need for strategic planning, because if you don't strategically plan, then you'll try to do all the things that you have committed yourself to, that you want to see happen in your life. You'll try to do them all at the same time. And when that happens, it's just a setup for overwhelming yourself, regardless of how motivated and ambitious and all that stuff. You know, we're humans. You know, we're humans, and so, you know, strategic planning basically takes a step back and allows you to get into your goals and to assess everything. One, assess the why around those things that you want to accomplish. Especially, and I'll say this, it's in some of the things that you said were all actually in line with it. They're not far from each other, you know, as relates to the different objectives. But sometimes there are people who have goals that they want to accomplish in their life that have absolutely nothing to do with each other, right? And so some people, and so the average person will say, "Oh, you're scatterbrained. You know, you have, you know, you're unrealistic. You know, all these kinds of things." And that's not true. It just requires strategic planning, you know. And so in this case, you know, where you've already made the move, you said, you know, I'm going to walk on faith and go after, you know, starting my trucking business, move to a new city. introduce myself to that market. And I would say you started that. So let that be kind of that initial piece. You assess your financial situation, identify what your kind of break even financial situation is. So what are your fixed expenses, making sure you have enough cash flow and income coming in to take care of those fixed expenses. Worst case scenario, at least your lights are on, at least you're able to pay your mortgage, pay your insurance, all those types of things that you have to do. And then you can look at, maybe on the, managing kind of those variable expenses to a point that's helping you to still save and strategically prepare for that next venture, and still not be in a situation where you feel like you're just not living at all and not able to do any, kind of the loose end things that keeps you, just a smile on your face and things in terms of your spending. But when you go into a new market, especially when you're in that space of networking, and you can't say that you're a professional networker and you love networking. This is a new space that you may have had some challenges in the past. The best way to manage that time better is to be very intentional around your networking, and be very quote unquote target market networking. So when you do the things, you get your business card, and in this day and age, we're not really shaking hands physically anymore because of the pandemic, and there aren't a lot of events where you go into a space and everybody's there together. I actually purposely avoid those spaces now, and people who know me, I love networking, right? But everything is virtual, so you just have to find out who your target market is. And when I say target market, meaning who are the people who need what you have? They are looking for you. And if they saw you and if they met you, they would do business with you. So who are the people who need your trucking services? And how do you find that out? And I'm going to tell you something. Here is the best kept secret, in which is staring us right in the face. Google. Google is my best friend. I mean, there are things that I'll pop up in my brain where someone will ask me a question I have absolutely no answer to, and I just type it in Google. And sometimes I change the words around to see if a different outcome comes out, and just think about what it is you're trying to find. Type it in Google and see what happens. And just click on each of those links and see what you find. And if you do that enough, it will lead you to something that was off of your radar, more than likely, and something that you probably should put on your schedule. An event, a meeting, a virtual, a webinar, or something that you probably should add to your schedule. And when you attend it, if it's a virtual thing, make sure that in the chat box, you say, hello, everyone. My name is this, that, and the other. Here's my phone number. Here's what I do. Can't wait to talk to you. Boom, hit send, and it's out there. And someone's going to say, hello, hey, Jada, and again, that begins this, this new space of networking that we're in now. And it's not going away. It's going to be like this. But there are, and then here's the other part to that. There will be events that are physical or in person, and you go in there, you protect yourself, and and don't be afraid to just introduce yourself, talk about what's going on, and because it gets back to, well, why aren't we doing it? And even when we're just talking to Brother Truesdale, about, well, why aren't we? What's holding us back? And say, well, they may ask you something that you don't know the answer to, and that's cool, because the one way I look at it is, if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I actually get excited because I know I'm going to find that answer pretty soon. It's something that was not in my mind. I don't have any past experience of it, but I'm getting ready to go after the answer to this. And by research, by connecting with people who do know the answer. And after that situation, that will be something added to my memory that I will know the answer, or I'll know how to get the answer. I can refer them to somebody who can get the answer. And at the end of the day, you're going to walk away as a reliable resource for things relative to something that you didn't know before, and so I would say, embrace the target market aspect of networking and put yourself in those spaces, become, a resource, become known in those spaces, and just, chip away at it. Set a goal as to how many people you want to talk to per week, how many people you want to talk to per day, and just, let the law of averages work for you. If you want to talk to 10 people a day, maybe two of them or one of them will become a new client. Just put a plan in place for those things. And lastly, to your other point, of ultimately wanting to have, quote unquote, residual income, where your income is coming from multiple places, that goes back to business and financial planning and making sure that the things, where you're placing your money now on the business side, on the personal finance side, that it's working for you even while you're working on something else. You don't want all of your income to be linear, that it's all, you have to go do something for you to make some money. That's kind of what everybody else does. I was in a meeting the other day and it was so funny, Thursday. And, after about 10 minutes in that meeting, the husband, he said, "This is great. Why haven't I ever heard this before? Why is this the first time in my 50 years of living that this is the first time I've ever heard of this?" And it was almost a situation of like, this is too good to be true. And that's the case. A lot of times when and primarily it's because he hadn't had other conversations like that. He hadn't welcomed conversations like we were having, a financial planning conversation. He hadn't had. That was the first one he had. So that's the reason why. If you were looking to have that kind of conversation more often, somebody else would have told you this. I'm glad I'm the first person to tell you this stuff. So you're going to have that. You're going to go into situations that are new to you, that you want to welcome into your life. You're going to approach people. You're going to hear things that's like, it's like the Holy Grail, for the first time, because it's like, wow, if I'd have known this, 5-10 years ago, I'd be in a different position. But you're in that road now. You're going down that road now, and be prepared, to invest when you get some good information, use that information, and even if you got a couple of dollars, put it toward it and see what happens, right? And as you've been intentional, continue to do that in all those areas as you're kind of building out your strategic plan. So this is. I just want
to say thank you. The two most important words I just heard was strategic and alignment. That just like put everything in focus. I appreciate you.
No, this is good. I think you should definitely celebrate the fact that you're doing what it is that your mind is telling you to do. Your spirit has been telling you to do, and you've done it. You didn't let people tell you, girl, you better not do that. And even though, because they're going to say it, and a lot of times it's the people who love us the most. And when you're getting ready to go into the unknown, and and they're looking at you like, what are you about to do, and why? And I will tell you the truth. Early when we started this network, personally, that was one of the number one reasons why I thought it was important for us to start this personal development network, because there are things that your spirit is kind of pushing you toward a certain thing to do that no one who's in your close network, maybe your family, your best friends, your spouse, they may not have ever taken that type of leap themselves. And they may look at you like you're getting ready to shake up our norm. If you do this, you're going to shake up our norm. And I don't think we're going to be able to, manage with that. And it's important to have a network of people, of people who've done it before, who have jumped out into the unknown and can give you some guidance and are willing and excited to share with you what their experiences were, and you stay committed to what it is that God is telling you to do, and you feel that energy to do it. So So more than anything else, we want to make sure that we're a resource for you as you're diving into the unknown, but excited to do it. We want to help you. We want to double down on that excitement. And if you do that, you're going to be successful. There's no getting around it. All right. Anybody else? Let's jump.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? I know we just hit the 8 o'clock hour, but I want to open up the call. I believe there was somebody else who was getting ready to jump in. So this is your time. Jump in. We'll take a second and open up the call now.
Hey, Byron, this is Dana. How are you?
Dr. Truesdale, Happy New Year to you. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm out here in Denver, Colorado right now.
Uh-oh, I wouldn't know why.
Some training.
Okay.
So what was the question you asked?
2022.
What are we working on?
Yeah.
Ask me how you presented the question.
One, what are you working on in 2022? Why are you working on that? Why are you excited about it? That's really it.
Okay. My 2022, I am continuing to work on my mindset. I dedicated last year to getting in as much as I could possibly get in as far as business-wise. And I just went on a voyage to just become a comprehensive dentist. And because there are so many people that I see, both in the chair as well as out, who are slowly dying and don't even realize. There are so many answers that I didn't know. Here I have these people who are seemingly healthy, and I cannot figure out for the life of me why they keep getting cancer, or why they keep having these mishaps, or having to get teeth taken out. And it's like they're doing everything right. So I felt like, that was the inspiration behind it. I think that my knowledge base wasn't expansive enough. So I set out on a journey to expand my imagination. And that is what I'm continuing to do this year. I just want to know, I just want to grow as far as what I learned and what I know. So I'm committed to reading a book, at least 2 books a month for sure.
Okay.
And I've gotten back with audiobooks and also I take classes all the time. Last year I did a mentor group called Next Level Dentistry, where every other Tuesday we were meeting for 2 to 3 hours. So I dug inside of the mind of the lab technicians. I dug inside of the mind of all the dental greats, and they all know me now because I don't give me your phone number because I'm calling. So they kind of all taken me under their wing. Whether it's the holistic doctor, Dr. Joe Wallet. This guy, he was nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. He's got a book in the Smithsonian.
Wow.
He gave him $25 million to do research when he was 25 years old. And he has all these degrees in medicine. 3 doctorates. So he's one of my mentors. I picked a African-American Black female who was already a multi-millionaire, killing the game. And she saw the hunger, so she kind of took me under her wing. And now we're at a point where we're doing these podcasts and stuff like that. We're speaking in front of a panel of doctors, other doctors. And so now it's forcing me to know my stuff. So I have an accountability partner now where the stakes are really high right now because, like Najee said, people know you don't know. The confidence. Yeah. And I think that was the piece that I was lacking when it came down to everybody could see things in me that I didn't see in myself. Everybody believed in me. And I just had to admit that out loud to my mentor. I'm like, she was like, what's holding you back? What is it? Is it being ashamed? And are you afraid that people will find out that you really aren't who they think you are? And he's like, well, flip it. You really are who they think you are. And I'm like, dang, you know what? It was a switch of the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So little nuggets like that, like you really are who they see you as. Step into it, own it. Become that person in your own mind. What is it that was so horrible? What is it that you failed at that you paralyzed? And failures happen, but the bounce back is so real. And so I started changing the way that I saw failure, and I started changing the way, like I was so closed, like I didn't want people to know things. And so opening up and letting the people who could help me get to the next level in has been like the best thing in the world. So fast forward to today. I'm here in Denver studying sleep medicine because I'm finding out that a lot of the things that people are going through has everything to do with airways, like the origins of everything. Even why we don't have enough space for wisdom teeth goes back to airways, hypertension, diabetes, erectile dysfunction, all that stuff.
Wow.
Cardiac issues. The origin is most of the time airway issues. There are very few genetics. Like we always say, oh, my parents had hypertension, blah, 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 I got it. And, I'm finding out the importance of why breastfeeding is such a big deal. Like, how is it that we got to a point where all these people are having all these problems? And it has a lot to do with breathing. So this has opened my mind up to a lot of things. And so it's like I'm stepping in different arenas that I've never stepped into before. So my prayer every day is, God, increase my imagination more and more. And when I tell you, be careful what you pray for, because it comes in like a flood. It comes in like a flood. And wisdom to know what to do with it.
Wow.
So that is my focus. That is my, and that's my why. I'm tired of people dying too soon. I'm tired of all these unexplained 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds just dying because of different reasons. And all these good people losing all their teeth, and now they got mental issues or insecurities about it, and having to take behind the 8 ball. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to fix stuff. I want to mend it.
Yeah.
And that's just even so in other areas like real estate and just supporting my husband and his business. I just increase my imagination in every way, and like God has really exposed things that's going on with my own health. So I'm facing it head on. Like tell me what's wrong so I can put my face on it and it be fixed. So that is where I'm at, and that is why I'm doing it. And like right now, I don't know, but there's been several publications out. So like when I started letting people in, people started recognizing. Like I've been in 3 lately within the last 2 months, like not newspaper, but magazine articles, online articles. And I'm like, okay, all right. I accept it. I receive it. I accept this responsibility.
Yep.
Also, that goes along with all of that. But increasing my imagination more and more every day, and the wisdom to know what to do with these ideas, and the courage to make it happen. So that's my 2022.
I always love when the good doctor jumps in and shares. Yes.
What's interesting is like I'm gonna be 2 seconds.
Go in, please.
Everybody has spoken to something that has like touched me, and that's just completely where I am. And so Najee talked about discipline, and that reigned in me. That's my word for this year is consistency, and getting back to being the ambitious person that people knew me as. I spoke those same words as I spoke to people who things in me that I never saw in myself. And people are like, of course you're going to be amazing. You're amazing. And I'm like, because now that I'm back home, I see my origin. I see how my parents treat things. I see how my parents' expectations and their understanding and how they view the world. It limited me. And so in so many ways, I feel like there's been, they wanted me to fly, but then they clipped my wings. And so it's like, well, you good, but you just regular, you all right. And I'm like, I'm more than that. You know what I mean? And so like recognizing, no. I'm better than just all right. And if I put some extra work in, I can be extremely amazing. You know, so allowing people to speak life into you and hearing it and believing them. And knowing that you're a child of God and knowing that you're connected to the divine who has amazing and abundance just for you. And so he created you not just to die, but you have to be able to walk in it and letting go of fear. Someone spoke about fear and letting that go. And knowing that there is no reason for you to be afraid if you do the hard work and you're connected to the one who gave you the purpose. And so that's where my 2021 has led me to now. It's that manifestation of it. People have been asking me to do things again because I've been putting myself out there. Like I've been doing the work behind the scenes for a minute and taking care of other people for a minute, but letting people know my true passion so people know where to call me in on. And so we have a few things popping this week. Next week, 3 episodes are launching. We're doing a series where I'll be meeting with special education leaders across the country, talking about different tidbits and different takeaways that they'll be offering out to the community. Most of them are things that anybody can use, not just special education people. They are special education people, but what they're talking about is very universal. And so getting other people to share their stories, making those connections and creating spaces for people to connect. I've been doing that my whole life. And so stepping back into it with a new face, with using social media for what it's used for or what it can be used for, the good side of social media. And so spending time there, just projects, people coming to me for PDs, like those are the things that I want to do. I'm not walking around saying, I'm Santa Jones, I'm X, Y, and Z. So I've been going to work. And so now that know that I've been doing the work, now it's time to walk in it, and I'm working on that fear factor. And so that's what it comes down to. That's my 2022 is just moving forward and being consistent professionally and personally and doing the things I love. Everything else is a waste of time. I'm not going to spend time on it.
Yeah. Well, listen, back to back, when the two good doctors jump in and give you the real, I mean, listen, you know, let me tell you something. Dana, you said something that hit me, and that's so real. You know, you are what they think you are. You know, and that is something that it kind of even goes back to what Najee said. You know, so there's this thing about reality. You know, the difference between what we think we are and what we think we represent versus of what someone else sees. And I had a similar situation like this yesterday. And you have to let people, you know, you have to kind of know who you are and bring that. And you know, I think it's worth me even sharing. You know, so the day before yesterday, so Thursday, I'm having a good day, right? Having a good day, everything's rolling, whoop, boom. Oh man. And then I got an email that turned that good day, you know, upside down, right? And let me say this, I allowed it to turn my good day upside down. And unfortunately, so long story short, you know, I was in a situation where someone was upset with the fact that at the core of it, they were upset with our perception of what should have happened was different. And so because their perception of what they were thinking they were receiving and my perception of what I thought I was delivering, we were on 2 different pages and we hadn't really communicated. We hadn't talked, we hadn't met, had some reschedules and things like that. So then the bill went out. Normal billing, right? It's time for the bill, pay the bill, right? The billing department sends out the bill and they let it, you know, they went in and said, you know what? Yeah, Inaction, check this out. I haven't gotten this, I haven't gotten that. And furthermore, and I was like, oh no, right? And so it's time to have that meeting. And we talked, and And I just allow, the first, say, quote, 10, 15 minutes, I just allowed them to share. And if this is what I'm not liking, this, that, and this and the other. And I was just listening. And then as I was listening, a couple of things were hitting me. One, it was the situation of, you got a new client. And so you really haven't been in a position to let them see who you are and what you do well. You hadn't been able to work, quote unquote, your magic yet, right? And so the perception, their perception at that point was like, this dude ain't about nothing, right? He ain't about nothing. Matter of fact, I'm ready to cancel my service with this guy. That whole thing, which is kind of going back to what Najee was talking about, is like when before you even had a chance to really show yourself, people have a view, and sometimes you can think they have a view of you that's not even what it is. And in that situation, I thought they had a view of me of what I think of myself. So, which wasn't the case. And but then, it's something about being confident about your intent. Even if you are in the unknown, because when you have a new client, you have no clue what they're getting ready to ask you. You have no clue. They could have their main challenges could be something 100% outside of your skill set, And so every brand new client is an unknown situation. But when you're confident about about who you are, your why. I mean, they could, and my whole thought was, even if they did, like if every question they asked me was something I absolutely 1,000% have no clue how to address it, the best thing that I know I can do is be honest and truthful about one, here's what you shared with me. I'm glad you shared it with me because one, I don't have the direct information to address it. But number two, I'm getting ready to find out. And number three, once I find out, we're all going to learn something new, and it's going to add value to what you're hoping to gain, and it's going to add value to my knowledge bank. And so that person now can make the decision to say, I'm going to fire you because you don't know the answer to my question, or I'm excited to go down this road with this guy because, he just laid out the honesty and the truth. And let me tell you something. When I was telling my wife this the other day, I am excited to fire clients, especially if you don't want me, because listen, there's a pipeline, and especially when you start thinking about and going back to what Dr. Truesdale was saying, is having that imagination to see what's coming to your life that's not currently in your life. So if you can take a step back, and this is part of what I wanted to talk about today. If you can, when we set our New Year's resolutions and we say, what, I'm gonna lose weight this year, I'm gonna eat better, I'm gonna start a new business, and you go through all these I's, what I'm gonna do. The next question to ask is, who's benefiting from this? Am I the only person who's going to benefit from this New Year's resolution? At the end of the day, when December 31st, 2022 comes, did anybody else benefit? Did anybody else benefit from that goal I set on January 1st? Or was it just me? And for me, that's not enough. For me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that's not enough. So can I think bigger? Can I imagine bigger? Can I set a bigger goal to be able? Yes, sir. Somebody needs to go on mute. They're in the shower. Oh, okay. Yeah. That sounds like somebody probably walking. It might be Brother Morris out there. Somebody out there hustling on the streets right now. I can see it.
No, sir.
It's not you.
That's right. They thought they're washing dishes or something like that. Like well, not me. I made it back. I'm actually, huddled in a small igloo, just accepting all this good information outside. That's what I do. Yeah.
thought it was you. I thought it was you trying to dodge the black ice out there, you know. Yeah. And
thank you, Bass. I was just about to say something. I thought it might have been my earbuds, man. But go ahead,
and I can't. And unfortunately, man, I got to figure this out. But my whole control panel over here is down because they messed me up, so I can't even mute when we have the noise. But no, whatever. So if you have stuff going on, just push mute, so the rest of us doesn't hear it. But so going back to what Dr. Truesdale said, you know, are we imagining big enough? You know, are imagining bigger? You know, do you even have are you willing to dream bigger? You know, to be able to take, you set a goal and then, here we go. If you set a goal, say, this is what I want to do. And for those of you who've been on the call for a while, you know what I'm getting ready to say. You know, if you set a goal and then you say, this is what I want. And then you use the why onion test. The why onion test. I hadn't talked about that in a long time. I'm excited to talk about it. You know, the why onion test. You say, I have a goal, and here's what I want to see happen. And then the first question you say is why. And you basically ask yourself why 7 times. You ask yourself why. You know, so if it starts like this. My goal is to become financially independent. Why? Because I want to take care of my family. Why? Because I love them. Why? I love them because they're part of my world. Why? And you just keep asking that question, right? Why? And the rule is, by the time you get to the 7th why, you know how it is when you cut an onion open. You know, you cut the onion open, you're crying, right? So you're going to get to that 7th why. And by the time you get to that 7th why, you are now at the core of your emotions, of why this matters to you. You got tears coming down your eyes. Your throat is heavy. You're shaking because you know this is the raw reason why you are doing this. And you can't finish the statement without, you know, choking up. And that's where we want you to go. We don't want your goals to be surface. We want your goals to be at the core of your purpose of why you are here. And the why onion test is a foolproof system. It works. It's not, I don't know if it's like, you know, USDA approved or whatever, but it works. Try it. You will find yourself just immersed in emotion. And truthfully, you know, that emotion, that energy is what we want, because there's nothing more powerful than being able to take raw, active energy and transfer that directly into the thing that you're working on right now, the thing that's most important to you, the next thing to use that. Now, unfortunately, you know, we have that, everybody has that experience where energy is created and then we use it for either the wrong reasons or for frivolous reasons that aren't adding to your position, adding to what it is you want the most in life. And for the purposes of this call, we want to use things like that intentionally, you know, for the purpose of adding value to your progress. That's the objective. Create situations. That's what, you know, when you go to church, for those of you who are Christians and are active and familiar with the church experience, and particularly the Black church experience, you know, the whole thing is one way to create a mastermind. You know, you get people who you get a lot of people, right, coming into one spot, one location for a reason. And in most cases, that reason is like-minded. You know, so by and large, the people who have come in there, they've come there to be inspired, to be around people who they know and understand, who share a unique objective, the love of Jesus Christ, you know, and then you bring the music in, and then the music makes you very emotional and it's inspired. Then you bring in this master salesperson who's a preacher, and they put it all together in a way, and before you know it, you're like, ah, it's just like one big explosion of excitement, energy, motivation, the whole nine. And so then the question is, what do you do with that energy? And every now and again, someone, maybe intentionally or on purpose, will leave that space and go directly and do something that is lined up with what they truly want in life. And then they come back the next week with a testimony, about what happened, right? The truth is, that's the science. That is the universal law. That is universal law. The I would say the unfortunate piece is that most people don't know that. Most people don't know that if you go into a situation, and it doesn't even matter. Like, church is a great example because the African Americans and the Black church is tradition, right? But you can do that in other examples too. I can go on about it. I tell you this one in particular. We went on a cruise about 9 years ago. The Global Information Network. And it was really the same thing, a cruise from Miami to the Bahamas. And they just pumped in a bunch of people who were, quote unquote, personal development gurus. Everybody from every walk of life all across the world came together on a cruise ship for the same reason, for the same purpose. And he had these sessions. And when I tell you, and my wife and I went, it was just one of the most awe-inspiring. There was one particular session, and we did the why onion in that session. That's probably where I learned it from, actually. If your why didn't make you cry, then your why isn't big enough. We did the why onion. Everybody, there's probably about 500 people in this room. And we walked out of that room. Every one of us were in boohoo crying. I mean, because we got to the core of what it is we're actually truly trying to accomplish, not just in this particular endeavor, but in life, period. And that's what that's what the purpose of this call is, to get to the core of what you're actually trying to deliver, not just on one-off engagement, but period. Who do you represent? What is it that you really are about as a person in this life? Not knowing how long you're going to live, all that kind of stuff, just period. And wanting to represent that every day. And it is, I mean it, man. So when I think about this year and you start assessing, did I reveal myself? Did I reveal my true intention to the people that I feel like I'm here for? And did I do it enough? And am I dreaming big enough? Is my imagination big enough? And if not, why? What's hindering me from going big, right? Really taking my thoughts and expanding them. I had a conversation yesterday with a client about building an investment portfolio. And I said, listen, if you're going to do it yourself, let's build a portfolio that you know and understand. But let's build it big. Let's build a big, diversified portfolio, and let's do it this way. The first level is, what do you know and understand, and list those companies and see if they're publicly traded. And so they listed all the companies that they knew and understood and listed them down. So, okay, let's see if these guys are publicly traded. Okay, great. Oh, this one is, that one isn't, this one is, boom, 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 boom. Okay, oh, great. That's step one. Step two is, let's figure out how those companies make money. Now, who do they have to do business with to make money? To actually be in a great business. Because if one of those guys goes out of business, then it's going to hurt the potential, and it's going to probably threat that company from making money. And let's find out who they are, and are they publicly traded? And then we went through that process. And you maybe had to open up a balance sheet and look at who their vendors are and their suppliers and that kind of thing. And boom, we found who those, and if we wrote those down. All right, let's do the same for that company and figure out who they are. And so then next thing you know, you built this, this list of companies publicly traded, this portfolio of companies where you understand how they make money, because more than likely you're buying their stuff. You're the one, you're the one who's buying their stuff to keep this company going. People like you all around the world. And you got this portfolio, you now buying all their shares. It's a mixture of small cap, large cap, mid cap, micros, all in this big, beautiful, diversified portfolio that you just, followed your understanding of them and put them in there and start buying the stock. And we have to kind of take that same approach when we are now looking at our own objectives, identifying what it is that we truly know and understand, and then expand that to not just us and what we know, but how do we get to the next layer and start encompassing that into our overall objectives. And so, I wanted to share. It's 8:30. I know we're pushing 9 o'clock. And for those of you who are on the call for the first time, this call used to be a 2-hour call. and then we went for maybe 2 or 3 years as a 1-hour call. But we're back to 2 hours. And so we want to do that. And so I want to take a second. Anybody else have any questions or comments before we kind of dive into more information and pushing toward 9 o'clock? Let's take a second and we'll open up the call now. And I want to say the same thing to our folks who are following us here on Facebook Live and on YouTube. We appreciate, I see your comments. Thank you so much. I want to say, good brother Coates, Alexis Coates. I want to tell you, brother, thank you for sharing that. I want to be the first one to say, I got it right here. I picked up the book. Yes, I want to show you now, brother. I got your book. So those of you who may remember, Alexis Coates was a great entrepreneur here in Maryland. He wrote a book, and actually he's written other books, but this one in particular, just hot on the press. I think I got this on Christmas Day or something like that, or maybe a little bit after Christmas, early in this month. And the book is called 12 Great Business Principles: Building a Business from the Ground Up and Rising to Power by Alexis J. Coates, a brother who has shared many times on this call and who's just doing awesome things. And so glad that you have, followed your dream, continue to share all that you've done in business and the folks who you supported and documented it in a book. So go out and get the book. It's called 12 Great Business Principles by Alexis J. Coates from here in Maryland. Thank you, brother, for jumping in on the call and sharing your expertise with us. I wanted to let you know I got the book, brother. I haven't read it yet, and I got it here next to. I'm going to share my book list here in a few minutes, but that's one of them. I'm going to get into it by our brother Alexis Coates. Appreciate you, good brother. Anybody to share before we finish up? We'll open up the call now.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, man. It's been a good one. I had the opportunity to get out, hit the streets quickly.
Okay.
And because of the beauty of the 2-hour call, I was able to come in, and still take notes the way I like to, and get all the good information in, right?
Okay.
So, I'm so thankful for everybody that shared and all of our people. And I got them right here. So it was all right, start at the beginning. 2022, we all got goals. My goal got readjusted because at the end of 2021, I had a health challenge, right? 2 health challenges, which is severely unusual for me. I would say in my 40 plus years of life, I don't recall really back to back anything, never, Yeah. So when I injured my leg, and it was foreign to me, really hurt my leg to the point where I couldn't move. I was trapped in the bed. I was trying to walk it off. I thought maybe it was a cramp. I thought maybe it was a strain. It wasn't. So I had to go to the doctor, and had to sit in the back seat, and stretch my leg out, and get comfort to the person, and had a cane, and all this kind of stuff. Right? Wow. I had to stay in bed. And that was at the end of December. Yeah, crazy. End of December, right? So mid-December. So mid-December comes, that happens, go to the doctor, they give me the good drugs, and get me back right, give me the procedure. They just tell me what to do, stay off of it and all that kind of stuff. So all that happens, it was just inflammation. And, it calmed down. And then I decide to go against the government and the CDC's recommendation for Christmas celebrations, right? And we decide to go to a full-blown VIP experience at the fourth piece, right? It was a birthday party, and it was fantastic. I mean, bottles were coming out. You know how they got the 5 bottles and all the stuff is gone, and if everybody's dressed up, and there's a suite involved. Oh, it's an amazing night. Amazing night. Not a mask in sight. Stand around, club, hands in the air. We're doing it.
Unbelievable.
So needless to say, you can see where this is going. 5 or 6 people pop up. I may be exaggerating, but I know a minimum of 5 people pop up. Positive for COVID, and I happen to be on the list of the 5, right? And one. And I got my finger out in my Malcolm X stance right now. It was because I was taking those medications to have my immune system on. And I was on this, I was drinking and I was taking these oral steroids and stuff. And that's what I think. Who knows? Bottom line was I was doing something stupid. And I shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Or I should have been a little bit more masked and all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't happening. And we drinking and all that kind of stuff leads to, I just gambled and, all that crapped out. So then right after being in the bed, then I catch COVID and, we get sick. And, I'm in the house, kind of, for the 3 or 4 days it takes to, go through this thing. And, for me, it was lucky. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just like, it wasn't even like the flu. It was just a bad cold. But the fact that you got it turns into a whole thing.
Yeah.
You can't be around people and all that. So that was the end, and that was going into the first of the year. Bam. So December was a tough December for me physically.
Yeah.
And it was even more tough because prior to that, I had really started some consistency on, maintaining my health. I had my run schedule going. I was happy with that part of my life.
Yeah.
And then that piece got taken away. But while I was laying there in the bed, and I think I was we had a call. Anyway, we really didn't talk about it much. We talked about other things. So it made me refocus on the importance of my health and the importance of getting in control of all the things, and this is the higher level of it, controlling all the aspects of my life that I can control. So I can control what I eat. I can control what I think. I can control how I feel about situations. I can control what I do in a day to make money, and I can control how I treat people, and I can control, because for that time I felt out of control, meaning I was in the bed, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't move around, and then you get the COVID got you, and I can't be around people. I gotta have the mask on when I'm in the house, it just made me feel out of control.
Yeah.
And I know you can't control everything, but you can. There are some very specific things in your life that you can control. And I was like, I need to take control over my own life. And what I want to do is be disciplined. Disciplined about the things that I can control. And systematically, like you were talking about, we hadn't even talked about how what made you come to the decision to do the fast and how the fast was happening. It's just, you just want to eliminate things that you don't want, that you don't want to do. Even though you may be conditioned to do them, you just don't want to do them. We all do things that we don't want to do, but we still do it. So we're out of control. And we're trained for a bunch of other reasons, and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is I wanted to take as much control over what my actions were as I could. And do the things that I wanted to do. So that discipline started back up through the exercise. exercising. So I went back, I got to the gym and all that, and now I'm in there with all the other early people, and I'm looking around like, here we go. I'm a January guy, but you don't know that this is for life.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm in here with all y'all in January, but this isn't about that. This is about discipline and then letting those disciplines trickle down into all the other aspects of life that I want to do. And this will be a lifelong thing. But in 2022, I just really wanted to get control and get more disciplined about the things that I want to do. Now, the caveat to that is when they start asking, why do I want to do these things?
Okay.
Well, once I have discipline and I begin discipline, then I can start asking questions like, okay, so why do I want to do this? Well, first of all, I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I've made a decision that this is what I want to do. Then I start asking, well, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to, why do you want to have this amount of money? Why do you want to have, money buckets here and that kind of thing? And why do you want to go into this business? And why did I eliminate the business? I had the business last year that had the 40% margins, and it was, it was cool. And I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't even want to do that. I'm just doing it because that's what I thought I should do. So the idea of being in control of all the things that I can control and just allowing the rest of it to go, and then I'll feel a lot better, because when I was laid up for that time, which is unusual for me, and I mean in my lifetime, never been laid up like that for a stint for that long. It made me reassess. So I don't want to equate it to being on your deathbed, but it's just the kind of thing where I can understand what people have. People may be, in that situation where it may be in an extreme situation, and then you start to really reflect. I try to reflect in the morning, but it's a difference when you're in real pain and you're reflecting.
Yeah.
Pain and reflection is the thing. So what I did was I looked at your boy. Victor Frankl. I ran through his book again. I know the story, but I didn't really the man's first the meaning.
Yeah.
I started to get out with that, just to be like, I'm in a concentration camp now. I'm a Jew. What's up? I'm a Jew. I got that stuff. Now I'm in a concentration camp. What happened? And how hard can it be? And hearing his experiences and trying to find, man's first the meaning. I know that sounds crazy.
Like, how hard can it be?
Now I get it. Right. I get it. I read one book, but I'm blessed already. So, I already, look at him like, hey man, straighten up, toughen up. But then when you hear, when I went through the story again and really saw what he was going through and his perspective on it, and then trying to equate it, it's just again, being in a tough situation, and then realize that the one thing that I didn't have was control over the thing that I wanted, to try to get that control, and then also to be disciplined in 2022. That's it. And then we'll let the chips fall as they may. I had one other thing, and then I know you're gonna have a comment. But what I did was I took notes on all the stuff that we had, and just as a recap. Because it's been very, very powerful for me. What I took from Beth was talked about the network, right? And that one thing stuck. He said, good to have the network. And then I put it on myself, like, use the network. And then with Najee hit me with the mentorship and the discipline and the focus. And I was like, that's where I am too, Najee. I feel you on the discipline. I feel you on the focus. The mentorship piece, right? But it started to build. So when Data hopped on with the ambition, and she was talking about trucking, and I was like, yikes. She's talking about outreach and focus from her. And these listen, amazing, right? So then I put notes in here that said confusion, right? So why do people have inaction? I heard this concept that the guy was like, sometimes people don't do stuff for fear, but a lot of times people don't do stuff because of confusion, meaning that you're inactive because, it's just like driving. You come to a fork in the road, and if you don't go right, you don't go left, you have to stop until you make a decision, right? So I'm like, emotion, sometimes it's fear, but other times it's just confusion. Right? I mean, it's not having enough information, right? Check this out. So boom, here comes Dana. Expand knowledge, network. You know, I'm going to take so much information in so that I won't have inaction, because that way, you can keep in the right direction. And how she talked about, and Dana just killed it with the knowledge, the mentorship, which came back again, which is something that I'm gonna work on 22 as well. Her view of failure and how she changed her thoughts around failure, and then obviously the powerful piece getting into the spiritual, which is Dana. Dana is, probably personally one of my top 3 people that I actually know who aren't in a like religious sect, like the pastor. You talk to Pastor Watson, obviously he's gonna talk that spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
But when you talk to Dana, she is in touch with that, that spiritual side and the faith side. So as soon as she went into imagination, faith, and wisdom, I knew that energy was necessary, to take. So I took that from it. And then here comes my buddy Ty Santa on the back end with it, and she hit me with something, and she talks about other things like walking in your purpose and doing what you do, and also accepting your greatness. But there was another piece that she hit me with that I see that all of us should, is the self-awareness piece. And because she's back home now, she recognized her early training.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about at the beginning, like, why do I want to do things? Like, a lot of that stuff is so embedded in.
That's right.
But you got to dig it. I just want to dig into it, to kind of to shake it off. Because I spend so much time with my mother because she's watching the kids, and I see her all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always looking like, oh, she said that. She said that to my daughter, who's now up to 7. I don't agree with that. Damn, I wonder if she used to say that to me too.Maybe that's why and you start thinking about that.
Yeah.
But the fact that she sprinkled that in, it touched me, and then that was it. So I took a lot out, and I'm sorry, I took a little bit extra time.
No, brother.
My apologies. Hey man, hey.
No.
At the beginning, I do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm with you today. Right. I do. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I shouted everybody out. I apologize. I'm so excited. I can't everybody though. Thank you.
Did you hear me say I need a copy of them notes?
That's right.
Okay. I'll send them the deeds. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
I got you. I'm sending them out.
But I also said, Dr. Santa said consistency. And I was like, yeah, that's it right there, because we can all start off passionate and fall off.
Mm-hmm.
So that consistency piece was the only thing you left out, Paz, but you did good. You did real good.
I'm putting it in right now, Dr. Streeter. I'm putting it in right now, Dr. Streeter. Yeah. It said consistency. Walk in it. Your great walk in it and consistency. That's what I got. That's what we got for top of
And if I can just make this thing full circle, man, your brother Morris made this an experience, brother, not just a morning call. So
yeah.
Thank you very much, brother Pat.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We're here. I know you out there. I'm out here too. I put it out. I don't not go out every morning thinking about the workout people. Like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, they gonna see this 2.5 miles real quick in this cold. Where y'all at? And then
it's so real too. It's so real, and that is one thing about the accountability part. And we're probably, as we, I'm listening to you guys, and I'm thinking about, we're probably gonna have to expand. Like when we originally started this network, and particularly the calls, and we had like these success teams, and that was 9 years ago, and we were trying to figure out how to do it. Technology has changed since that time, so it's an easier way to do some of this stuff. And I will say when we started that, the kind of the health and wellness side of it, as a New Year's resolution last year, and it's just been consistent. And it's you see somebody up before you woke up and they already posted that they got, they've already gotten their 4 miles in. That'll get you going, especially when weather's crazy and all of that. so that in of itself. But I'm gonna tell you one thing that you said, Paz, that is continually, you said it a lot of times, and it's kind of been going back to me. You talked about control, and handling what you can control. And that's the part that didn't rub me the right way, and primarily because, now this, Santa, you got to mute your phone, sister. She in the mix. Right, she out getting it, right? But let me tell you, man, especially when we start talking about control, because the truth is we can't control anything. We think we can control stuff. We think we got control over this. I mean, I'll tell you one thing in particular. When this pandemic happened, early on, I was kind of under that same mindset, of wow, like, I got control over this and I got control over that. But this is so big, like, how do I trying to compete with this control factor? And it's and actually I went into pure anxiety because what I understood as my ability to control certain things and control certain norms and make those norms stay in a comfortable, in a way that I kind of understand it, what that was beginning to, I was starting to lose that control. And I'll tell you the truth, man, I really got to a point where I really had to go deep into my faith and say, I relinquish my attempt to control things. I relinquish it. I'm not even going to try anymore. What I am going to do, though, is to put myself in a position where I can hear from the one who can control, right? And so that's going back to the faith. And I'll tell you, that part was probably the best thing I could have ever done, because things became much more clear. I stopped focusing on all these things that I thought I could control. And the truth is, I really, anything could happen what would make me lose control. Like in the case that, in your case, you had a certain repetition, but then you thought that was your thing, and all of a sudden, just a freak accident happens and I can't use my leg, and all these little things that take you off of your norm. And I just I got to the point, and I'm even further there now, where I started just asking God for guidance to lead me, and then I'll do what it is that I'll do that. Wherever you lead me, I'll do it. And I'm gonna tell you, and I didn't share this on the call today, but since our last call, I have had some of the most vivid dreams over the past 2 months or so that have been so just worth it. Like, how sometimes you dream about stuff and then you may be able to talk about it that one day, and then the next day it's gotten real fuzzy and you can't really remember all that stuff that was in the dream. This stuff has been so clear, and I don't know, it's where it's coming from, but all I know is all I know are my prayers, what I want from a guidance and leadership perspective, and the type of influences that I feel like I need in my life right now as I go into these spaces of the unknown. I try to accomplish the things that I believe I want in this life, and where I feel like I'm being led, and just so it's hard to talk about things that aren't practical, but you still have to talk about it. You still have to, especially for people who believe in faith and who are you know, and are willing to build a faithful life. And I truly believe in, as you know, our sister Adirake just said on social media here, that God speaks through dreams, you know, and I truly believe that. And it comes down to a belief system. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? That's a whole nother conversation for another call. But I'm just at a stage in my life where I don't want to control anything anymore. I don't want to act like I have control over anything. But what I do want to do is be faithful to my faith and be in line, you know, and do whatever it takes to be in line. If that means, you know, pushing away the stuff that I used to do all the time that I thought brought me comfort, then cool, because I want to be in alignment where I can hear, where I can feel that guidance, and then where I can quickly start working on it. And Paz, we talked about this yesterday. I made a commitment that I wanted to talk to 100 people about financial plans. I want to talk to 100 people in 100 days. And whether that's talking about money management, investments, estate planning, whatever. I made that commitment. And I told Paz the other day, I'm literally, and my wife can tell you, I've been going to bed at like 10, 11 o'clock at night every night because I've been acting on that commitment, completely acting on that commitment, pouring out. And why am I doing it? Because God told me to do it. I know, and relative to my faith, relative to what I believe that's God told me to do this, so I'm doing it. And whatever happens, I got goals I'd love to see happen, but I want to follow that through. You know, I want to follow that through. I want to be obedient to my faith and relinquish control of trying to, you know, I want to, you know, have goals and I want to pursue those goals. And I plan for a living. But for me, and what I'm holding the rest of my life on is guidance, you know, that spiritual guidance that will direct me to do this and to do that. And that way I don't have to really spend too much of my brain on trying to control stuff. And I can spend my time, my energy on just following through on the guidance, you know. And so that's how I'm approaching it. And I'll just tell you the truth. That's how I'm approaching it. And because I need my mind to be fresh, to be able to be equipped, you know, to do the things that I feel like I'm called to do. And if my brain is thinking about all these things that are kind of out of my, you know, quote unquote control, then I'm not applying those resources in the right way, you know. And that's how I've kind of digested it. And then we see where it goes. And that's the beauty of faith, you know, is that you make a commitment and then you follow it and you just do it, you know. So I wanted to just say that, you know, because I heard you say the word control about 10 times. And I remember being in that same spot, and right. And I went into a pure. I'm telling you, man, 2020 was so rough, man. I went into pure anxiety where it was physical, where my body was shaking and I couldn't control it.
I think there's one piece, because I agree with you on everything you said. I think there's one piece that maybe I didn't articulate it properly. You know, maybe you can keep me on point and making sure that faith is at the front of it.
Okay.
To control the things that I can control. there are a few things in life that you can't control, and that's what I meant by that Viktor Frankl thing. Like, the more intense the situation is, the less things you can control, but you still should do those small things that you can do. You know, so you may not be able to. You know, I can't control if I get in this car, make it right, and get banged by a car. You know, but I can control, you know, waking up at the time that I said that night.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
And when if survivor, I don't die. But, you know, if my eyes open, I can control getting out of that bed if I'm strong enough to do it. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The things that I can do, doing them. The things that I can do, doing them. And that's what I meant by control. Honestly, you know, you're a maniac if you think you control, you know, life. But,
yeah.
And I hope you don't think, you know, I hope nobody thinks that I'm a maniac.
You know.
Be in control of the small things that you can do.
Maniac is a relative term, so, you know.
And, well, you know, exactly. not Anthony Brown, Antonio Brown. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, I'm the Antonio Brown of the call. He concerned about the call. Like, man, I'm open. Just throw me the ball.
Throw me the ball. I'm going to quit in the middle of the game.
Throw me the ball. I'm open. But I'm quitting in the middle of the game. I'm hanging up. Ooh. Oh, you don't like control? I'm hanging up. But
Yeah.
But no, that's what I meant by it. That's what I meant by it. Just that piece. I just wanted that to be, just what you can control. Even when I was laying in the bed in pain, what could I do? Could I slide myself over? Well, I wasn't gonna lay in the bed, so it was gonna take me a long time to make it to the bathroom, but I still did it. So even if it's very small, and you build, and for me personally, you build self-confidence doing the things that you can do.
Yeah.
Doing the things that you actually can do. And that's what I mean by the control. So, you get ready to control. And I like the control is a hot word, a buzzword for you. It's like ambition. You may want to rethink it, because control. Listen, man, I'm Janet Jackson, brother. Hey.
I'm Janet Jackson.
You gotta get that for all my 40-year-olds.
Yeah, that's right. All your 40 plus.
Janet Jackson had an album called Control.
That's right.
It was
80s hits.
It had What Have You Done For Me Lately on it.
That's right.
Stuff that y'all know. It was before the nation.
Just wait a while, you know what I'm saying?
That's why I said I'm Janet Jackson. Yeah. You got it? Okay, because it was real like Beats was like, I'm Janet Jackson, what?
Oh, no, I knew what you were talking about, brother.
What I'm saying is, okay, yeah. Straight out.
Oh man! All right. Listen, you have accomplished path. It is 9:02, brother. It is 9:02. So we have definitely gone.
I'm so happy y'all are here. I'm happy to call us back, D.
We've definitely gone past the time for this call. But as I say that, I will take a second. Let's open up the call now. Anybody else have any questions, comments, want to share? We will do that before I go into this book review here, and then we'll finish up for the day. So we'll open up the call now. All right. We cannot get off this call without talking about books and talking about what I'm reading, what I've been stacking up. I got a lot of things to get on my plate this year, and get information to get in. I want to tell you, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different books, but I'm going to just tell you right now, most of these books, I would say 80% of them, I'm listening to them on Audible, right? So I just want to put that out there so you don't think, well, when does this brother have time to read all these books? So, and it's a reflection of when I look at this year, and what my goals are for this year, the information that I know I need to help me to be knowledgeable and proficient. And then some of it is just personal stuff that I just want to get in, information I want to get in. So I have 12 books here. Actually, one of them I just finished reading. I've actually just finished 2 books, but the other one I don't have. I thought I had it here, but I don't. So I've gotten 2 books in. The first one was Finish Big. Finish Big, which is how great entrepreneurs exit their companies on top. So helping as many entrepreneurs exit their companies with a lot of money, basically is what that book means. So Finish Big with Bo Burlingham, written by Bo Burlingham, Finish Big. He's also the author of Small Giants, which is talking about small companies that are doing great in revenue, high revenue, small businesses that the intent was to stay small, but to have high revenues. The next book here is, and mute your phone here because I feel like I'm yelling now. So, but the next book is Jesus and the Disinherited. You know what? Whoever's on, they probably don't even realize that they are still on the call. So there's nothing we can do about it. I promise you next time I will figure out this back office so I can mute the sounds and all that kind of stuff. So I will get that right. My apologies. So, but the next book here is Jesus and the Disinherited. Jesus and the Disinherited by Howard Thurman. And if you don't know who Howard Thurman is, Howard Thurman basically is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you will. He was the mentor to Dr. King, the mentor to Vernon Jordan. He was the mentor to all of the civil rights greats. And so he's from that previous generation. But he was in practice, he was the chaplain and head of the religious studies at Morehouse, head of religious studies at Howard University, and was just like this, philosophical theologian that all of the great civil rights leaders went to for guidance and for strategy. And his stuff is just, it's deep, but it's great. I love his work. So Howard Thurman, Jesus and the Disinherited. The next book here is the 1619 Project. The 1619 Project by Professor Nicole Hannah-Jones. Professor Nicole Hannah-Jones, which was a big book last year. Came out last year and talks a lot about, the history of this country and its relationship in race and how we have this race relations in this country and how did it start, unpacking it, telling some of these untold stories. I'm looking forward to diving into this book this year. I picked up another book that I'm going to be reading because they don't have an Audible for it, but I picked up from what's the Mahogany Bookstore. It's a Black-owned bookstore in D.C. And this one, for those of you who are part of that era, this book is called Chronicling Stank Onya. Chronicling Stank Onya, which is the rise of the hip-hop South. The rise of the hip-hop South. Chronicling Stank Onya, the rise of the hip-hop South. So anybody who remembers Freaknik, anybody who remembers the whole 90s Atlanta music, this is what this book is going in. I can't wait to dive into this, just to go back and remember that. That was our soundtrack. That was our high school, college soundtrack. And I'm looking forward to diving in this thing. So that's Chronicling Stank Onya, the rise of the hip-hop South by Regina Bradley.
My party's grabbing my phone call.
What else I got here? Legacy. This book is the Legacy. Plan, Protect, Preserve Your Estate. Practical answers from America's foremost estate planning attorneys. And let me tell you, this year in business for me, a huge part of my financial practice this year will be focused on protecting assets in the Black community. Protecting assets in the Black community. So we can begin. It doesn't matter if you own a home, we're going to protect it and make sure that house and the assets in that house benefits 3 generations. We're going to do it. We're going to make that real. That is a commitment that I'm adding to my practice this year. I'm so excited. I joined an organization called the Association of Black Estate Planning Professionals. And it's just been a great, such an enriching group. I've learned so much. Some of these folks are specialists in estate planning and estate attorneys. I'm not an attorney. I'm a financial advisor. So it's great to be able to learn the strategies of professionals, the greats in that area, and to dive in. And so, and a big part of this whole conversation that I just mentioned, that this goal that I have of having 100 conversations in 100 days about financial and estate planning, this is a big part of it. So there's a legacy book. I'm excited to dive into that. I also picked up Dr. Boyce Watkins' book, Black American Money. Black American Money. How Black power can thrive in a capitalistic society. Black American Money by Dr. Boyce Watkins. Also have here The Montgomery Bus Boycott and the Women Who Started It. The Montgomery Bus Boycott and the Women Who Started It. And this is by Joanne Gibson Robinson, and just another piece that it's just so important to have that information, know our history. Also picked up George Peabody, the biography of George Peabody. And so for those of you who don't know who George Peabody is, if you're from Baltimore, you at least heard the name George Peabody. But if any of you guys have your bank account with JP Morgan Chase, well, that's really the Peabody Bank. You know, JP Morgan's father, Junius Morgan, used to work for George Peabody, and George Peabody was a merchant banker out of Baltimore. And he started a bank. He had an office in London, and so he had an office in London, an office in Baltimore. And Junius Morgan, JP Morgan's father, worked for George Peabody. And when George Peabody retired, he passed the bank down to Junius, and Junius ultimately passed the bank down to JP Morgan. And hence we now know and understand the Chase, Manhattan, and JP Morgan banks. So getting ready to dive into that. And lastly, I think, two more books here. Senator Ralph Warnock, pastor of, I was about to say Dexter Avenue, but what's the church in Atlanta? Dr. King's church, not Dexter Avenue, but Ebenezer Baptist Church. The Divided Mind of the Black Church, Theology, Piety, and Public Witness by Senator Ralph Warnock. The Divided Mind of the Black Church. And then lastly, but not least, my good man, Vernon Jordan, his second book, Make It Plain. Vernon Jordan, who's probably one of my personal heroes in business and leadership. Vernon Jordan, Make It Plain. So that is my year of books that I have on my list to read. I'm 2 down and got a lot to go. So I mentioned that because I think it's important for us to, as we're looking into this new year, start digging into the type of information that's going to help you accomplish the goals, help you become knowledgeable about the goals that you've set for this year, prepare you for conversations that you didn't have, information on last year, but you'll be able to go into it this year with fresh thought, fresh information, prepared to educate and be of value to the people who are going to benefit from your goals this year. We just want to make sure that we're staying active and staying ready to add value to our goals. And as Dr. Truesdale said earlier, listen, if you don't have the time to read these books, get Audible, add it to your app, listen to the books and while you're driving back and forth to work, or just, when you have time, listen to the books, get the information in. You will see that you're able to get the information, get through books a lot faster, and you can quickly apply that information to the things that you're working on. So I highly recommend that strategy and that resource for reading and taking in information that will add value to your goals and objectives for the year. And that's all I got. Anybody else have any questions or comments before we finish up and get our Saturday started? We'll open up the call now.
Actually, I do. This is Jada again. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I want to say thank you because this is so funny. So I've been part of Baltimore Professionals for like 5.5 years. Yeah. But I actually never took advantage of this phone call.
Okay.
So I kept getting the notices. I see it, the notifications and all that. I was just like, that's not for me. And I didn't want to wake up early in the morning to do it. So yeah, there it is. So I was talking to my girl yesterday and telling her about, what I'm going through with the trucking thing and the whole auto mechanics thing with my heart lies. And I got the notification again. And I said, you know what? I've been ignoring this for like 5.5 years, attending all the other stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah. And I told her, I said, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to make this phone call. And she was like, are you really going to do it? I said, I'm going to try. So already I had changed my vocab to to like, I'm going to do it, to now I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that because I know she's going to hold me to the fire and be like, well, did you do it?
I love
and
it.
I said, you know what? I'm going to set my alarm. So I set 3 alarms because I wanted to make sure I got this phone call. But yeah, I got up and I'm so glad that I took advantage of this phone call and that I finally like attended because I've been seeing it, and I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your dedication to continuing this for 10 years. And so I'm glad to have finally made this phone call as my first phone call for January 2022.
Oh, awesome. The whole purpose of the call today was accomplished just with that statement. So thank you so much for doing it. And kudos to our brother Will Holmes, who put together the Baltimore Professionals and Entrepreneurs site. I guess what was about maybe 7 years ago. It's been a while, and we've been a part of that programming for I guess since the beginning of it. And it's just been a blessing again to be able to engage with so many folks who are we talk about the word like-minded, right? And I love it the way you said it. It's that situation of it was always, and even to this day, there's always this urge to mass produce calls like this and things like that. But there is something very unique about people who are willing to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. You at least know that you can create a unique mastermind of like-minded people, because if they're willing to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, these are the people who are willing to hang up the phone after the call and get right to work and go right to it. Not the people who are just kind of like passively listening and it was nice to hear and I'm glad I heard. These are action-oriented people, and that's the way you create a mastermind of like-minded folks. And so we're going to always keep it at 7 o'clock in the morning because we know we have a better chance of creating a mastermind that way. Of like-minded people who are committed to personal development, taking their lives to the next level. So thank you for sharing that. And we look forward, spread the word to other like-minded people who you're connecting with. We love to have their energy and hear from them. And we look forward to hearing from you on the next call. I do know I need to update, though, the phone number because I think you probably called in and it gave you a new number, correct? So I need to change that, I believe. I'll do that once we finish up. So make sure we don't have any confusion going forward. So thank you for dialing in, and feel free to connect with us. Also, if you have questions, or contact information is on the Baltimore Professionals Entrepreneurs, but you can shoot me an email at byrondeese@hotmail.com. Listen, I was going to my plan was to introduce our new website today. But we're in the final stages of launching the new website. I can tell you the website address is www.dreammakersnetwork.org. It is still under construction, so if you go there right now, it'll take you to our page on Facebook. But by the time, hopefully by next week, we will have the live site open. And I'll tell you, if you'll go to the site, many of you who are on the call now, you'll see your face on there because it's filled with events that we've done in the past and calls and all types of cool stuff. There's consultations of folks who are trying to really are focused on building out their financial plan. We have a consultation subscription section where you can do that for those who are looking to launch new businesses and need guidance and consulting. You can do that. And then just for folks who are looking to add to their network and looking for networking strategies and things like that, you can subscribe there. So we're going to launch this site. I was hoping that we could do it today, but we will be able to do it here soon, hopefully next week, at dreammakersnetwork.org. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy yourself. Stay warm. And we look forward to hearing from you real soon. Enjoy the day. Mm-hmm.